I previously shared on this channel how in 1971 the US dollar was depegged from the gold reserve. Therefore, it lost any intrinsic value. The currency globally, all currencies that were depegged from gold lost value intrinsically, and that's why the concept of currency debasement started, where they could print money at will and take it to the moon, and therefore the middle class started to evaporate. Therefore, hard work, salary, and income was punished in exchange for hard assets, which started rising in value because they were the only things left that had any intrinsic value. I concluded previously so many times on this channel that the way to get ahead is by buying real estate or different types of hard assets, because they are the best hedge for inflation, which is caused by currency debasement, and are the best hedge for currency debasement. In this episode, I'm going to go through this website called WTF in 1979, and it will blow your mind. It will completely change the way you think about financial literacy and how to make real money these days. It's all around currency debasement and the implications and symptoms of it. If you're stuck in the past, if you're from a culture that says work hard, buy your home, pay it off, and live the dream, then you'll be turned upside down by this episode. Let's figure out how to make real money together. Check this out. Real median house prices since 1970. The concept of currency debasement started in 1971. And what we're seeing here is that whether it's Sydney, Melbourne, Canberra, etc., all city house prices in Australia have risen regardless of what's happened with inflation, regardless of what's happened with the official cash rate, the interest rate, regardless of what's happened with mortgage rates, whether they've gone up or down, house prices have continued to go up. Whether there's been recessions or dot-com busts or regulation changes, house prices have gone up. And the thing that gets most people is that house prices haven't taken into consideration what's happened with median wages. The property price to median wage ratio has rocketed up to 16.4%, and that phenomenon has started in 1971. Let's analyze the symptoms of 1971 when they stopped basing the value of the dollar on real gold and just decided, hey, it's worth whatever we want it to be, and we can print money to all our heart's satisfaction. That has changed the game for how to make money. Let's dive into it a bit deeper. Here's one: growth in productivity and hourly compensation since 1948. A lot of these charts are US based, but they're applicable to Australia as well. Notice how compensation and productivity were aligned until 1972, but since that time, even though productivity continued to rise, compensation flatlined. In other words, workers are not rewarded anymore because of their hard work, and that, my friends, is once again because of currency debasement. Real GDP, real wages, and trade policies in the US. Here's another chart that explains the same thing. Since 1971, even though real GDP per capita is continued to gone up, and real GDP per FTE or per person has continued to go up, what we're seeing is that average real wages have basically flatlined, and real median weekly earnings of full-time workers have also flatlined. That, my friends, is because of currency debasement. It's because the dollar you earn today doesn't have the same value as it did in 1971. Income gains widely shared in early post-war decades, but not since then. Since 1971, those in the 95th percentile of income have seen their income as a proportion of what it was in 1971 continue to go up. The median has flatlined, and the 20th percentile, or the poorest income earners, has also flatlined. That is because of currency debasement. The average person, by working hard, is no longer getting ahead because of both inflation and currency debasement, which effectively means that unless you're making 7% plus return on investment on your money on a yearly basis, you're actually going backwards, regardless of what the official CPI figures are. Income concentration at the top has risen sharply since 1970. The top 1% and the top 0.5% of income earners are the ones that have seen a major increase in their proportion of total income in world economies, including the US income share of top 1% relative to bottom 90%. Something happened in 1971, and you can see that it shot up. This is because of currency debasement. This is because only hard assets keep you in the game these days. It's not an honest living that gets you ahead. Cumulative inflation, when you don't have the dollar pegged or tied to something meaningful and substantial like the gold reserve, then you have rampant inflation, because to get out of economic crises, you can print money to the heavens. And you can see cumulative inflation since 1971 is a completely different profile than before 1971. That, my friends, is because of currency debasement. Currency crashes when there's no substance behind currencies. When they try to keep up their worth, they can't. And that's why we've seen a massive increase in currency crashes as well since 1971. And this demonstrated as well in the share of young adults living with parents, which has risen to levels not seen since the Great Depression. In the Great Depression, around the late 20s, early 30s, around 40, 43, 48% of 18 to 29-year-olds in the US, this is, were living with their parent because they couldn't get a job or that job wasn't paying enough. That reduced until 1971, at which point it was 31%. Now it's actually beyond Great Depression levels, not because of the unemployment rate. The unemployment rate's very low in Australia and the US, major countries around the world. It's because the value of that income doesn't stretch as far. That, my friends, is because of currency debasement. That is because the New World Order means the way to get ahead financially is not by working hard, fortunately or unfortunately, it's by owning hard assets. Of course, this is a property channel. I don't think I'm biased at all in saying that the way to get ahead is by owning hard assets. They are a natural hedge, as proven in the first chart that I shared with you, to currency debasement, to inflation, to interest rates, to economic crises. Hard assets become rare, they become scarce as population rises, as the middle class evaporates. We have more and more people wanting something substantial, a piece of land to call their own. That is what rises in value, keeps up with that 7% figure of inflation plus currency debasement combined. Your income, your job, your wage does not do so. If you're of the mindset like I was growing up culturally, work hard, get a good job, buy a house, spend 30, 40 years paying it off, that is no longer an option for most of the middle class, because most of the middle class can't afford it. It's become obsolete. The way to get ahead right now, as it was starting in 1971, is to own as many hard assets as you can. Does that mean that inequality will further exacerbate? Yes, but you have to ask yourself, which side of the equation do I want to be on? Don't hate the player. Don't even hate the game. Embrace the game, because if you don't, your kids are the ones who are going to be worse off, and your kids' kids. Change your life, change your family legacy by understanding this point. Money is not worth what you think it's worth. It's only hard assets. In another 30 years, these charts are going to be completely through the roof, and human society will be unrecognizable. Take care of your financial future. No one cares about your money as much as you do. If you really want to understand these concepts and be in a community that is doing something about it and getting ahead financially, I'll leave links below to my Facebook group, 60,000 people, Australian Property Mastery with PK. And listen, and to level up, listen to my podcast on Google, Spotify, iTunes, Oz Property Mastery with PK. Understand these concepts. When I understood them, it changed my worldview, and I made the most of it and got ahead and exited the system. You can do the same slowly but surely. At least start. Confucius said the longest journey starts with the first step. Hit subscribe, hit the like button, share this with someone who's a non-believer, a disbeliever, who doesn't understand these concepts. Maybe they're an engineer, a doctor, a physician. They're not financially so literate, although very intelligent, or whoever it may be. It doesn't matter your intelligence levels. You have to understand that you're not getting ahead. You're not retiring, even at 60 or 70, on your hard-working wage, income, or salary. You need to invest in hard assets to keep up with or go beyond the level of inflation and currency debasement. My name's PK. Thanks for being with me.